2 hours. We're just searching everywhere, you know. So neither of us are getting high again, and we're just miserable because he made, because he decided to steal it. Like,
Steal the crack pipe?
yeah.
This episode of the Project Exodus podcast is brought to you by ProjectExodusCorp.com. Visit our website and look through the catalog of all the products that we have, new and upcoming products, and even some of our classic t-shirts. All of the proceeds from these purchases go to helping someone in early recovery from substance abuse, whether that's getting a bus pass, a cell phone, or even maybe helping get into a recovery program. You can get them in all sizes and colors. Here's my favorite, in pink. Nice. These are great quality products that you can get here, and it goes towards a good cause. So again, thanks for checking us out and enjoy the show.
I do that when the party's over. I go back home.
Welcome to the Project Exodus Corp podcast, episode 29, right? Yeah, 29. My name is Paul.
Andrew.
Joel.
Joel was just sharing a story with us about retell it.
No.
Yeah, you had some friend that would steal your crack pipe. Yeah, tell it. It was a good story.
No. He would. I had a friend that would go through some cocaine psychosis, I guess, and he'd start talking to his family. We'd be partying for a couple of days, and I knew when the party was over when he'd start talking to his family up in the attic, and it just would get so annoying to me. Like I would try to brush it off.
What did he say?
He'd just be like he'd just stop. We go from like laughing for like hours on end to him trying to. He'd be like, "Shh, did you hear that?" I'd be like, "Even if your family's up there, dude, like it doesn't matter." Like
Those are the worst people to be high with.
yeah, like
Was the ones that tweak like that? I used to just laughing. I never laughed when I was smoking crack, but
I've done.
you gotta
never
balance.
funny.
Like I was the only one drinking alcohol and doing it. Otherwise, that wouldn't make sense to even do that type of drug.
Yeah, I don't remember ever having anything like that. I didn't know cocaine psychosis was a thing.
Yeah. When you start running out, when you start losing your high. I used to have get high with this guy, and I'd have money. I'd be like, "Hey man, let's go get us some more," and he would be like, "Hold on," and he'd be like, and he'd like take his socks off, and he'd be like feeling his pockets, like I think I got another piece. I'm like, "Just go buy more, bro."
Yeah,
And he'd be looking at the walls, and I'd be like, "What are you looking at?" And he's like,
go
"I
get
got
us
no."
more.
He had like drywall tape, like drywall like on the walls that wasn't painted. And he'd be like, he's like, I think I put a piece up there. I was like, "You think you did? Like you did, or he's like, I was thinking about it, and now like I'm high, I want to get high, and then 30 minutes later, I'm looking at the cracks in the walls, like,
Is there
a crack in there?" It's like, Jesus, it's
What a
terrible.
weird drug, man.
Oh man, what a rough end. I mean, that's an interesting way to come into episode 29. It's a little different. So again, my name's Paul. It's the Project Exodus Corp podcast. Project Exodus Corp. We are a local nonprofit and a group of recovery homes here in Sarasota, Florida. And on our podcast, we talk about just about anything and everything. So if it's your first time tuning in, we welcome you to the episode 29 to the podcast. So I don't really know what to talk about tonight. I'm kind of been since getting back
About
from
Alabama. Let's talk about Alabama.
Yeah. Did you
Miami.
talk to your dad?
No. Well, I can go into it. You want to hear the story?
Yeah.
So I went on Sunday, the day after our last episode. I flew. Well, I didn't actually leave. I went to the airport, got on the plane, sat there for an hour and a half, and then one of the crew members come on and say we have a mechanical issue. They're going to try to go down and fix it. So they took us off the plane. And so I go back up to the terminal, like, "Oh, would you like to wait till the plane's fixed?" I'm like, "No, I'm not getting back on that plane." So I flew out Monday morning at 7, flew into Nashville. My mom, who lives just right outside of Nashville, I went to her house, spent the day with my niece, my mom, my stepdad. But Tuesday, I drove down real early, and I got to see my aunt, who I haven't seen since well before I got sober, and spent several hours with her. And I was, for those that don't know, my dad's still in active addiction. He's been using drugs and drinking since I was a kid, like I can't think of a time when he was sober, but it from what all information I gathered, he lives at some like junkie compound where they're allowed to use. They're required to go panhandle so many hours of the day. And again, this is all word of mouth when I'm meeting her.
So they're required, or
Yeah.
so can they work or?
Yeah, someone picks them up and takes them to like so the town that I'm from is a very rural town. It's Limestone County, Athens, Alabama. Panhandling, it's not like you might see two cars, I would imagine, if you
Right.
panhandled in the neck of the woods where I'm from. So someone actually comes to that compound, picks them up and takes them to Huntsville and lets them out. They panhandle all day and then someone brings them back. Which I
That's
mean,
all legal there.
I guess.
Jesus.
It was a really good trip to Athens. That one was kind of the hard part. It's like, and I'm still kind of just trying to get over the fact that my dad's out there doing that stuff. It sucks. Just because like I feel like I just realized like this, you can't save anybody. I can help many people that want help, but if he doesn't want help, I can't do anything. So I talked to my family about it. I tried to hunt him down. I even text some people that I'd never heard of that knew him, and they responded back saying, they're not friends anymore. They don't see him. I don't want to say it was a failed mission. I got a few other things done that I needed to get done while I was there. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good trip. Spent a lot of time with family members I hadn't seen in a while. So flew back Thursday, got here at noon. I miss Shelby and Charlotte so bad. Like, I watched the meeting on Wednesday night from up there. Really, really good meeting. Savage Peach Savage, Randy Savage did a great job. Yeah. Um, that it was fun. It was neat. I mean, again, the last time I went to Alabama and Tennessee, I hated it. Like, it's like I'm never coming back here again. But I think that would have being able to go back and have like dignities a lot different. So, um, since being back, it's been weird. It's like super weird. Like, I don't know how to really explain it. I don't know if it's just like I went on vacation for a few days and I had to come back to reality. But I don't know what it is. It's just been really tired.
Depressed.
I don't
You like
know.
the time off too much?
I don't think so. I don't know what
I
it
think
is.
it's Athens because when I went there for Milton and came back, I was like, this sucks.
Something in the water.
Mm-hmm. No, I had a really good time, man. I miss my family. I miss them a lot. It was beautiful there. It was weird coming I came when the plane landed. We came out of some real thick clouds, and then it opens up, and it was a rainy day, but everything is like lush and green, like extremely green. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like all the vegetation's really healthy, and here it's just really dry. We ain't had no rain. Like,
When was the last time you were there? 2019
yeah, like August 2019, I think.
when your grandmother passed?
She passed in January. I went back one time, and I think the reason that was such a difficult time to go back was because I've lived in Florida since 2013. So anytime I would go home, there was a house, that you grew up in, Granny's house. So I would go and I would stay at my home, sleep in my bed, like that was that when I went back in August after she passed, it was like I had to get a hotel room or stay at someone else's house, and it was just really an unusual. I didn't feel welcome, if that made any sense. Like, it didn't. I felt like a visitor in my own home. This time, like I stayed in Tennessee with my mom, which I had a little bit more comfort doing that. Um, I'll tell you one of the weird things that, so I've talked to you guys. I don't know if I've talked about it on here about my cousin that was murdered by his little brother. And that was the aunt that I spent a lot of time with. And that was the first time I'd been there since that had happened. And this property where this took place is something I grew up on. Like, like there's still a spot right in front of where she's at where the trampoline was that we grew up jumping on the trampoline. And that was really it was a tough pill to swallow because like there's a spot where his body lay dying, and just really trying to get closure on like what happened, why it happened, what's the status of the case. Like, they started doing trial proceedings on Monday, and then it got delayed. A lot of things were, I guess they're just really trying to buy time.
You see your cousin?
No, no. What's weird is like my aunt even hired like a private investigator to like track him down. She wanted to see how he's doing. It's her son, and he's done a really good job of like hiding. He's got no contact orders, and I guess I get it. Like he's trying to protect himself. He's claiming self-defense, and it's highly unlikely that he's going to get that as a claim. Be able to claim that they have everything on camera. So
Jesus.
it's a really, really weird thing. It was really good to see my aunt had kind of moved past a lot of it, if that makes any sense. Um,
When did this happen? This happened in
How was it on camera? Wasn't
he
it?
had security cameras on his property.
Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, he had security cameras on his property, and from my understanding, when the cops came out there after this had taken place, so he shoots my cousin in the knee. Tells my cousin if he tries to get up, he's gonna shoot him again. And I guess my cousin Michael tried to get up, and he shot and killed him. And he went inside, called the police, told the police that my brother's out here on my property. You need to come get him. And when they got there, they was like, hey, they see all these cameras, and they're like, these cameras work. He at this point he's claiming, oh, my brother tried to attack me. He's like, yeah, the cameras work. So the cops go inside. My understanding, they looked at about 3 minutes of camera footage and put him in cuffs and took him to jail. Open shut case type of deal. And since I think it's 2021. No, your question, 2021, October 30th, 2021, day before Halloween. And he bonded out 5 days later, $150,000 bond. And he's been out ever since, waiting to go to trial.
jeez.
Yeah, and I don't know what the main reason it's taken so long, other than it's a small town. So getting a jury that doesn't know about it may be an issue.
I mean, that's his real brother.
Biological, yeah, he's 10 years younger than us. His older brother was my age. Yeah,
I mean, so technically, the mother's going to lose two sons
correct.
for on that day.
Yeah.
One to jail, and then he had to disappear, no contact, or
Yeah.
whatever.
And my aunt's lived on the same property ever since. Like outside of her front, she actually, it was funny. She had a horse trailer, just horses, and she parked a horse trailer like in between her and the
She can't
spot
see
where,
it.
yeah, she don't want to be nowhere near it.
Jeez.
But I was very proud of her, like how far she's come. She was so comfortable talking about it, and she talked to me about how difficult it was, just the last few years. I was able to make an amends to her, for the way I had behaved and not being there, and it was a really, really cool moment.
What was that like being like sober in recovery, Paul? Did you have any like fear about running into people you knew that you'd like maybe junkies on
Yeah,
it or something?
yeah. There was some. I don't
The
know if
whole
it was
town.
fear. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's
Yeah, he runs into anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking over my shoulder the whole time. Like there was there was a moment where I was sitting in the rental car in her driveway waiting on her to get there, and I was constantly thinking, yeah, somebody sees me out here, it could be the end of Paul. But I mean, overall, like the being sober part what was really unique. It was how many people reached out to me, like or I would run into that were comfortable talking to me about addiction and their personal struggles with something. My uncle or my step uncle Stanley, he's been a year and a half sober off of pills, and I was like, it was kind of weird. He was like, he just come up, was like, yeah, I ain't took a pill in a year and a half. And I was like, and why are you telling me this? Like this was not a conversation this guy would openly have with someone, But I realized that, that's the type of relationship I do want to have with people. I want people to be comfortable talking to me about those things, and so that's kind of what was a bummer not to catch my dad. Like I really was hoping to run into him or find him or track him down and be able to just, see if I could spark some interest in getting out of the junkie compound.
Sure, maybe he's heard that you were there.
Well, since then, I got a friend request from someone with my dad's name on Facebook, and I accepted it. He hasn't messaged. I tried to message him, but we'll see. It's a developing
Couple
story.
more months, we'll be back picking up your brother. Maybe we'll scoop your dad up too.
Yeah, that's
I don't know if I can handle 3 McKinneys in a car.
So,
get ready. So I'll tell you one. This
One's
is
a lot.
I don't really have high expectations for this, but my aunt, she was kind of bouncing the idea. We were bouncing the idea of her selling that property. You know what I mean? Like that land. She's like, she's miserable there. Like it's not a place that she wants to stay. And I was like, why don't you sell it? She's like, would you be okay with that? And I was like, I support you selling this, no problem. And I was like, she's like, well, we were looking at Florida, and I was like, oh, there's all kind of 55 plus communities in Sarasota. So she's strongly considering moving to Sarasota. My mom, my stepdad, and my other niece Lily are looking at places in Bradenton right now. So you think 2 McKinneys?
God,
You're fixing to get the clan. You don't.
should we pray?
Yeah, you should have listened to your mom. You're sending me that money in jail.
That's totally worth. It's like the best $120 I ever spent.
Yeah, so it was a really cool trip.
It was, dude.
It's
How
probably going
often
to
do
be
you
a
like?
nice return on your investment, I think.
Yeah,
By the time it's all said and done, I mean,
the only person that was really like protesting it was the manager of the halfway house I was at. He was like, "Hey, man, like that's I wouldn't don't do that, man. Like, what are you thinking?" I'm like, "If I got to lose, man, it's $100." He's
who was protesting it?
the guy who was running the
Oh,
managing the halfway houses that I was living in. He's like, "Yeah, you shouldn't do that, man." I was like, "Well, for obvious reasons, you're just sending some dude who's your bunkie in jail and money. He just got out of jail, so
I
yeah, but you guys spent some time together, man. I mean, that's how long are you guys together? 4 months?
not even 3 weeks,
3
maybe.
weeks?
maybe. Yeah, he got
24/7?
he put in for trustee, and they came and got him at like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Okay,
You
tell him, trustee, you want to go to trustee? I said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
Here's it.
woke up and he was gone. Like
What's the benefits of that? What's the perks of that?
he was there for a day.
Oh, trustee,
You got kicked out? Stole something?
No, he quit. You
You're
tell me.
You don't like
So the benefits of being a trustee in Polk County Jail is, you get to work, so your time goes by a little quicker. You got to get a
You
job.
get good. You get good time.
You get more at you get to access the full canteen list, so you can get soups and coffee, and
Okay.
Mustard.
that's pretty much
Ketchup.
it.
All you can
That's it.
all you can
And
drink
you can
coffee
get like,
or
yeah, you can't get coffee or anything like hot that you have to heat up when you're just in a
Yeah.
little transit.
But you also get 2 trays.
get
two trays. Well, no. Well,
Yeah, you do.
my job,
He was stealing.
well, no.
No, like
The
most
job-
trustees get
I
2 trays.
tried. Paul was stealing trays. They wouldn't.
Oh, I was.
He would
yeah.
double back. He would go and like comb his hair over all crazy, and then go back and get a second tray. And I'd be so pissed
I
because then
was-
he would get
it works.
He would get my frozen banana plug from the room too, and I'd be like, "You son of a bitch!"
Combed his hair over the other way.
I'd be over there just eating my peanuts and stuff. Like,
You said something really interesting that made me that I was thinking about this week. Whenever you said you were talking about the house manager told you not to,
yeah,
and
like that day because I asked him for a bed too.
over the last like couple of weeks, like in the last couple of podcasts, there's been moments where Joel would look across and go, "But why? Like, what is our stance on this?" And I've realized that we have done everything people told us not to do.
Yeah,
And we have done everything that was suggested we don't do. We were suggested not to open houses. We were suggested not to open female houses. We were advised not to go to Kissimmee and help people in Kissimmee.
we were advised not to go to ask the Salvation Army to hold a meeting.
Yeah, we were told it wouldn't work. Everything that we've done, and again, a lot not without support. This advice was in our best interests, thinking, hey, slow down. It's a handful, and it truly is. But somehow we've made it work. And I was reading this scripture today. I think it's in the book of Timothy that says, for a man that knows to do good and doesn't do it, to him it is a sin. And it's profound to me because I think, what we're doing is good. Helping people is good. And so if we're not doing that, then to me, it's a sin. And for me, if I'm able to help someone in a positive way, then it's my calling to do that. It's y'all's calling to do that. There was some stuff, like we were talking about like 90 and 90s and what type of meetings are approved and things like that this week. And, I'd be interested in hearing other people's opinions. But for me, it's like, even when people are suggesting that we run our program a particular way by a particular dynamic, what's worked for us is being a little bit different,
Just doing what we want to do. What
Well,
works
we're
for us.
just different. You know what I mean? Like to some extent we have to accept kind of that.
Well, and that's a extremely good point because, I did a 90 and 90. You do one? You did what? It was like
Hundreds and hundreds but I don't, suggest that. I didn't do meetings right. I now doing all those meetings and going every night, sometimes 2 a day. It's my understanding from my own personal experience and journey and what I see from others, quality over quantity.
Now, Andrew,
day
did
long.
you do one? No, he did.
I've done one. I didn't do one this time. I didn't do one after the last relapse because I had 4 or 5 meetings that I knew I liked to go to, and I wasn't going to do a meeting every single day with where I was at. Like, because I've had the recovery. It was in me. I just, doing
So
7 meetings a day, 1 meeting a day for every day of the week was just too much for me.
so here you have 3 different examples. It's just us 3. I'm not going to talk about anybody that's recovered. And I remember in early recovery, there was 2 things that really stuck out to me. It was it's not a cookie cutter program, right? Everybody's recovery journey is different. And Todd told me one day, he said, clean up your side of the street. Like worry about your side of the street. Stop worrying about everybody else's.
These sayings that
And
Paul has,
Yeah,
it's just
that's
we've
what
heard
got
them a
him all the
million
sayings.
fucking times.
um,
And Todd would tell me, he's like, "How many times I've heard that?"
yeah,
Cheese and statement.
Sorry,
but
clean up your side of the street.
don't date in the first year, right? I did that, and like I can't think of all the things that I did that were.
I did everything that I think everyone told me not to do. So,
But the things that
uh,
you were doing, you had a sponsor, you were working the steps, you were like active in your recovery. So the things that you were told not to do ended up working out okay for you because of all the things that you were doing.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, and
Because some people will do the things they're not supposed to do, but they're also not doing the things that they should be doing either. And, it just ends
so
up
when I
bad.
went to the Sally on Friday night, which was last night, I did the. Oh, Mr. Rickson, kill me. So I did the meeting on what it's like living in a halfway house,
You
which
don't work there no more,
yeah, love you, Mr. Rick.
right?
right.
Anyways, he's gone.
So I've done that meeting, that topic quite a bit, and I've always been really adamant. Like I don't go in there saying Project Exodus Homes, like it's like the hands raised, and then they say, I'm thinking of going to this program. I'm thinking of going to that program. What is your opinion? And I'm honest. I'm like, there's nothing. So, there's nothing wrong with the program that you're going to. It's a great program. What it's not about comfort. It's not about, the location. It's about how bad do you want it? Like, do you want it? Because if you want it, you'll go to the program and you'll buy in, and it's not going to be about personal convenience. And, I got a phone call while I was in Nashville from a good friend of ours that was talking about how they could not refer us when they go into detoxes because they were told that we don't force a 90 and 90. And so we had a really good conversation. I said, hey, in our rules it says to do a 90 and 90, but I'm not gonna kick someone out because they missed a meeting. Like what do you and so I really wanted to talk to you two guys about it because I know what Joel is going to say. Well, what is our rules? Where is our stance? And I know personally, I know your stance, but I think it's important for our listeners, especially the people that are in our homes. What is our stance on a 90 and 90? Where does that come from? What's the history of it? It worked for me. It worked for Joel. It worked for you in some standing. I think it's a really good thing to do if you're trying to get some unity and get some understanding and get some good meetings set up that you enjoy and get some good recovery knowledge. That it's something you should do as a challenge to yourself. At least that's how I treated it. But starting with you, Joel, like what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, so especially in early recoveries, someone coming into a recovery home that's fresh into recovery, I think it's a great idea to do 90 and 90. I mean, plus there's nothing better for someone, a lot of those people coming in that, to do every day to get some type of set structured recovery going on that they can't find talking to people in the recovery home or whatever. That's not where my change happened personally for me. That's not where I was challenged. You know what I mean? Coming from someone, and this is only coming from someone with social anxiety, which is really a social phobia. Yeah, I mean, there was first 150 meetings I went to, I just sat in the back. I didn't say a word, didn't say hi to anyone when I went in. So I didn't even do a meeting. Like I showed up, but that wasn't a meeting. So I think more quality over quantity. Like a meeting is showing up early, communicating with everyone, you know, working some type of step work, some intentional design to go into that meeting. And there's some meetings I went to just for unity. I went there just because I like some of the people there, or I just want to hang out and have a good time. And there's some that were more 12-step work where I was uncomfortable, I was challenged. So, it's not a cookie cutter program. I mean, find out whatever challenges you, and you have to build unity. So if you're just going to one for friendship and connections, then go to that. I mean, that is a huge piece of recovery for me. I mean, that's what kept me along. I have ones that challenge me. I have ones for unity, and I have ones that just I went there creep, you know. So
And how many of those meetings? So obviously, again, it's evolved, right?
yeah,
Like you're not we're a beginner by comparison to a lot of people with a ton of sobriety. But for example, like vast majority of the meetings that we attend now are on a service aspect.
yeah, completely went. I didn't like it didn't happen right away. I mean, I took in the court program on Mondays, and that's when I started to change. Like, okay, this finally makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you can go to a meeting and not even show up. Like, you can show up geographically, but not show up like intentionally there to listen and participate. You can't. You can. I can sit down with the sponsor and manipulate them, but I cannot fake a service commitment. Like I can, you know what I mean? Like I have to show up and share my experience, strength, and hope, and that
Actively
changes everything.
participating.
That's a real me. And so even when I was doing three or four service commitments a week, and I wasn't even making it to a normal meeting, I had people telling me, "No, you gotta go to a meeting for yourself." But like that hit it for myself because I was anxious all the time, socially anxious. That forced me to participate. If I go to a meeting on my own, I'm gonna go into that default mode of like that's uncomfortable, shake hands and talk to all these people that are strangers or I haven't seen in a long time. I'm not gonna talk to them. That like with the service commitment, that forced me to do the meeting, and it forces you to share, forces you to listen, it forces you to, you know what I mean. So for me, it was service commitments. It wasn't the 90 and 90, it wasn't the 150. You know, I mean, I literally did 150 meetings and 150. I mean, maybe more. I was going to a couple a day. So that's not where my change happened from. It happened for me during the service commitments, and that's why I pressure all the our house leaders instead of focusing on 90 and 90 for the newcomer, whether they do 80 and 90 days, whatever. For me, it's them seeing the house leaders do a service commitment and that transformation,
Yeah.
seeing their house leader sponsor other people in the house or whatever and see what a leader in recovery does. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah. So I mean, I appreciate you saying all that. Like it's I think the 90 and 90 is important because from a discipline standpoint. One of the people in the comments, Lori, made a comment. She's like, I did drugs for 26 years straight. I was told I could do a meeting for 90 days straight, like the discipline aspect of doing something, like you said, that challenges you. Right. I remember when I did my 90 and 90, it was there. I moved here in August and I went every single day. And hi. Um the that was Charlotte. She's got a bucket on her hand. I remember the one thing that kind of just struck me as odd was everybody's different opinions of what a 90 and 90 was. And what was that hurricane? Was it Ian?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, when I was
Ian.
living over it,
Mhm.
yeah, I was living in a group, some recovery homes over in Kensington Park, and I had went to a meeting every single day, and I was in the middle of my 90 and 90, and Ian happened, and there was a guy that was kind of in like management for this string group of halfway houses, and I didn't go to a meeting, like I couldn't, I just there was a hurricane for a couple days, and he was like, "You got to start your 90 and 90 over." I was like, and I had like this internal conflict, and then I called Andrew, and Andrew's like, "No, you don't." You know what I mean? Like, it's not that serious. But like, for me, it was the challenge, right? Like, can I do this? And I remember getting to that point, and I just lost count. I just kept going and just kept going and just kept going, and here we are 3 years later. I think I average, a few meetings a week, the ones that I really enjoy, the ones I get something from, and then the rest is service commitment type stuff, like you were saying. What is your opinion on, the good, the bad, the ugly, like what it
I don't
provides for
think there's
people?
I don't think there's anything bad about doing it. Like there's no like negatives for doing it. I think there's a few reasons why 90/90 is good because um one, it allows you to like be in a setting with other people versus just being alone. Because before I got clean, I just would isolate. I didn't want to be connected. So it allows me to make connections with people in recovery. It's a place where I can find a sponsor. If I'm going to meetings, I'll be able to find a sponsor. One of the things that was suggested to me early when I first started doing recovery, I was like 20 or 21 years old, was like for the first 30 days, my sponsor had told me to raise my hand and introduce myself. Joel probably would have freaked out.
Yeah.
I'm Andrew. I've got 25 days clean. And, but that allowed people to kind of get to know who I was. And I think it's kind of part of like building a habit. So if you do something every day for 90 days, it can become a habit. Um, so I mean, for someone like me who likes to just isolate and disconnect, forcing myself to do a meeting every day for 3 months, it gets me, it gets me more, gets me away from the isolated Andrew more to the version of me who's connected, which is the better me. Um, as I kind of progressed into my recovery as I got older, at least I would say within the last 5 years, I did it in 2019. I probably did more than nine. I did more than some days I would do two meetings a day. So I did more than 90 meetings in 90 days. But and I would try different meetings, because some meetings I didn't like, some meetings I couldn't get to. So I learned. I used to do like this used to be my schedule. I'd go Monday night men's, the Tuesday night big book. Wednesday nights we would go, Monday night men's would go to Sally. Thursday was the other Monday night men's group, and then Friday was the Grapevine. Then I would go Saturday night
To the
to the
speaker
speaker meeting, and then Sunday. I think Sunday usually I would take off or I would go somewhere else. And then there was another meeting on Tuesday night that I liked when I wouldn't go to
Yeah.
the men's meeting, depending on when I would get off work. So I definitely strongly encourage people that are new in our homes to do 90 and 90. I mean, because what else are they? I mean, unless they're working or something, what are they else going to be doing? Just sitting at the house in their room?
Well, that's that balance. That's that conflict. Like people are going to, for people like, especially for people like me that think going to meetings early on was uncomfortable. They're gonna say they're working or whatever. It starts creating that. I mean, looking back now, it's like it probably doesn't hurt any of them to do 90 and 90 or even multiples a day on their day off and link up with other people.
Don't just go to a meeting.
Right. I mean, I wish I had a sponsor that would have forced me to talk like first meeting, so I didn't just kind of burn through. You know how many Monday night men's meetings I sat with my head down because I knew
In the
they were
back, hoping they wouldn't
like,
call
oh,
it.
I'm like, just sweating the whole time. Like, here it comes.
I think what's important about doing so many meetings early on is to find your tribe. Like you got to find people that speak the language that like hits you. That like people that have what you want, people that you can relate with, people that you can become friends with, you can do things in recovery with, um, because I mean, it's just recovery can be lonely too.
To me, that's number one on the
Yeah.
list. Like, um, I realized real early in living in a halfway house that it was the people that isolated in their rooms that didn't make it. Like really quickly didn't make it. Like the ones that went there and ate their Fruit Loops in their bed, and they got up, went to work, and then they came home, went straight to their room. Like, it got to where I realized, like, oh, in order for this person to get help, you got to kind of go in there and drag them out, invite them to the meeting.
And what do you mean by don't make it though? Because I think there's a distinction that we
2026 is their year. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Like, you know, there. I don't. Some people would be fear. The comfort.
yeah. It's always discomfort.
Yeah, and
And the Fruit Loops.
And,
and that was me.
too.
Like,
Laziness. Don't forget
Yeah,
that
don't
one.
eat Fruit Loops all day.
Joel's gonna remember this. Like that was me. Like I had to get accustomed to asking people. people for help and asking for advice and being comfortable letting my guard.
Asking for rides.
Yeah, and
That's a great way to get to know people that you don't
yeah,
normally would talk to because you don't have a ride.
yeah,
You ask the old guy you ask old Pete, would pick you up and be hotboxing his van with cigarettes on the ride to the meeting.
yeah,
But
Yes. Yes, Andrew. He had the white car when I first met him. He was like the only guy in the halfway house with a car. And man,
it's a miracle.
some kid brought like something in the car. He ruined it for all of us. No more
No,
rides.
he wasn't allowed to ride the car anymore.
I think one of the
It's
big
orange juice, or it was Gatorade.
Guys would be like rely on Andrew for like a ride to work, and then he'd just freaking block him. Be in the house. He'd be
Did
like,
I?
ready.
Yeah.
good old Andrew.
This came a long way, man.
Jose said there's Fruit Loops on his bed now. They better not be. No, Lori made a good point. Lori says, I have over 7 years and still struggle to share in a meeting. Lips quivering, tears are usually included. I can, however, share easily in my home group. I have established comfortability in my home group. And I think that's one of the big things in a 90-90 is you're really trying to get established with a home group, get established with a sponsor. Again, a 90 and 90 serves a purpose. Now, one of the really cool things that Joel pointed out real early in recovery to me is like a 90-90 is not in the big book. It doesn't say that. And Joel would always remind me, he'd say, meetings are not what keep you sober, right? Like nobody gets sober for because of a meeting, right? Am I quoting you?
I could have probably said some crazy stuff. I'm
But-
always pushing back, and
But that's true. It's like it's the willingness to surrender to this new way of living where you're in order to put yourself first, you have to get uncomfortable and go to these things.
Well, and we don't talk about this enough, but like the willingness to even go to the meeting every day, that right there is unteachable. You know what I mean? Like if you got that, like you're like, yeah, maybe like even making the decision to make it to the meeting, even if nothing changes you at the meeting, you don't really gain any more insight. That the meeting itself isn't enough to really change your perspective of life and recovery and addiction and whatever. That willingness to even go to the meetings, like, all right, here's 90 and 90, I'm going to go to the 90 and 90.
Yeah.
That right there, that willingness right there isn't given enough attention, I think, because that's something we
Yeah.
and it can be manipulated. We can push and drag and pull and cause fear you're going to get kicked out if you don't. We can do all that, but like that willingness, that desire in your mind,
I think of I think of that again. I just this is fresh on my mind. Like I think of those first few days at Hidden Forest, and you looking at me and going, "You got to get to a meeting. Let's go." Like there was that person in the house that was willing to help hold me accountable and get me to a meeting. I'll never forget. You took me to that beginners meeting over at Church of the Palms.
so on Sunday.
Yeah, it was on a Sunday, and I was nervous, and the way that meeting's structured, like the first 30 minutes is for like newcomers, and Joel's sitting there going, "Raise your hand, raise your hand," and then they gave out chips. And he's like, "Go over and get your chip." Like I needed that. I needed that person, whether they were a friend, whether they were a colleague, to care enough about me to say, "I've been where you've been, and it's okay. You can raise your hand. It's okay. You can go get your chip." And I don't know if this would have worked if I didn't have that. Like I didn't have Andrew in jail, like willing to talk about this stuff seriously. So I think from a house perspective, like running homes, like there needs to be someone holding people accountable. Like, did you get to your meeting today? I'm about to go to a meeting. Get in the car. You're welcome to come with me. And
most people appreciate that. Like even if they're uncomfortable, like I don't want to get off the couch right now. I don't want to go to that meeting. It sucked the last time I went. Blah, whatever it is. When they come back from that meeting, better. You know what I mean? Like
That still works for me today. If I'm like, and I go and I don't want to go, but like I feel better when I always feel more. I feel like uplifted and I feel more positive and I can see things from a different like perspective after I left a meeting. Even if it was like hard for me to get there and like hard to want to go, when I always feel better when I leave a meeting.
And think of all the people that didn't battle any kind of alcoholism or addiction in their life miss out on. imagine the people out there in just regular society that misses out on the connection and the communication inside a 12-step meeting
Yeah.
is like profound. Like you don't get to experience that anywhere else in life than right there in a meeting and connecting with other humans that have been through something. I mean,
I-
that's bizarre. Like,
Something that's like key to life is to sit in a room with a bunch of people who are willing to be vulnerable about
right.
how they're feeling and how they're struggling or how like they're doing great and how they're like dealing with success and just all the different aspects of their life.
With complete
Also, while
strangers, yeah.
being, a recovering drug addict and alcoholic.
And doing it completely sober. And it's like,
Lori said we used to call these one car at the group home that took as many people as it could fit, the druggy buggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And
gotta get us a buggy,
yeah,
like an old VW
there was
bus.
always the druggy buggies.
just
But
call it druggy.
you know, like I
I
will
can get it wrapped. I know how he does wraps.
with like with a cheese and
Project
chong
Exodus drug buggy.
cockroach.
Yeah.
So I remember Tony, my sponsor, telling me real early. Like, so for those that don't know, I have alcohol and narcotics in my story, right? And a lot of people do. And so when Andrew told me his story in jail, he would talk about going to AA meetings. And I would remember going, why do you go to AA meetings? Like, you're not an alcoholic, And when I got here to Sarasota, my sponsor said, have you been to an NA meeting? And I was like, no, I had not been to one yet. I was just qualifying as an alcoholic. He goes, you might want to go to one and just, really decide where you fit in. Like, can you qualify or do you relate to drugs more than you do alcohol? Um, and for me, I'll never forget this, and I'm not gonna put the group out there, but I had went to Monday Night Men's, I'd went to the speaker meeting, I'd went to the beginners meeting, and I just remembered how organized it was. Right, like they tell you at the beginning to cut your phone off, and then nobody was really chiming in or cross talking or anything like that. But then I went to my first NA meeting, and I don't want to say I got a bad vibe, but for me, I just felt uncomfortable. The what am I looking for? Like the structure of it was a little bit different. It's
Do you think that's because of age gap, maturity,
The lingo's a little different.
lingo's a little different.
length
It's a
of
different
But
feel.
what I didn't realize
clean?
until recently was how many people are put off by the other program.
Which
Have
one?
you ever noticed that? Like people in NA, will say like clean instead of sober, and people in AA will say sober instead of clean. And like
Yeah.
if you ever go to an AA meeting and say, "Oh, I've been clean for this many days," there's like this overwhelming, like like their
There's some
breath.
weird
Yeah.
stigma, and
Wrong
there's like
place,
one
man.
fellowship, one disease, and like I'll
Yeah.
go to whatever meeting I want to, and I can relate to anybody who's
Yeah.
either doing drugs or
Well,
drinking.
like
Like I don't.
I
No
go
one's
to
gonna tell me.
AA, and I tend to agree with the NA mindset. Like it's all drugs to me. Like it's
Yeah.
all addictive. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I think I'm super blessed that I don't have any like overwhelming desire to be critical of the other programs at all.
I love them all.
I love
Yeah.
them all. Like I can show
Oh,
up to any of them.
The
yeah.
12 steps are basically are exactly the same
You know what's
wherever you
weird?
go.
Oh, us in OA meeting, connect with everybody
What's that?
there.
Oh, wait.
Overeating.
Oh,
you
Over.
know what I mean? Like anything with powerlessness, I'm right there. You got
let's
me
wonder
locked
what a
in.
burning desire sounds like in there.
I remember I took my first two sponsees through the AA steps. With that, there Tony would give me this packet that was like
Mhm.
30 pages long
Yeah.
that you'd flip through, and then you could actually take a group of sponsees through. And then Shelby introduced me to the NA workbook.
Yeah.
Uh,
Beautiful.
you were using it like I was like,
Oh,
"What
yeah.
is this? This is great!" And so I mean, I don't take someone that's in a through the AA, type of stuff, but like I always try to say, hey, what are how can I relate to you? Do you have drugs in your story? And if they do, like we're going through the NA workbook. So I don't know if it was like the age gap or anything. I think I just felt more comfortable in the AA meetings, maybe because they're the people in there were much older and like had 40, 50 years of recovery. Maybe it was because it was the first meeting I ever went to. Maybe it was because my friends went there. I'm not sure. But I think as far as a 90 and 90, it's really important that you go and find a home, whether it's NA, AA, OA, CA, whatever, and get a routine in place by going to meetings every day and finding the meetings that you enjoy and you get something out of. Um, it's a beautiful thing to experience, and I really encourage people to do it. I mean, and I want to give a shout out to the meetings that are not necessarily 12-step meetings. Like our meeting on Wednesday night is not a 12-step meeting. We're not anonymous by any
Not
stretch
a
of the
12-step meeting.
Huh?
It's not 12.
No.
It's not the 12 steps, but
But some of the best meetings in town, like Celebrate Recovery,
Yep.
it's not a 12-step meeting, but it's an amazing meeting to be
Recovery
part of.
Church, if you're a
Recovery Church
Christian.
on Tuesday night.
Yep.
The Monday night meeting at Grace Recovery, where they have the food pantry, is an amazing meeting. And for me, those meetings counted towards my 90 and 90. Church on Sunday, for me, I don't want to say it was a meeting, but it was something that somewhere I would go and I would get something out of it. Like I consider a meeting something you don't necessarily want to go do and you feel better afterwards because you did it. Right. Like you were talking earlier.
Yeah, or just I think the definition of recovery is something like an intentional way of life to better your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Most
So
of
if
the-
you're doing that through church or 12-step meetings or recovery meetings or some intentional, structured form of trying to better your life that day is a meeting.
The church.
Some of the best meetings I ever had are in the recovery homes when we just have a meeting. I mean, that's what, where I first learned to even talk, you know what I mean? So
I wanted to just put a little quick update. So one of the people that came back with us from Kissimmee has recently got their own place.
Really?
Yeah.
or rented
Yeah,
a
rented
room
their own
or-
place.
for
A room?
Yeah,
Like how recent?
last night.
last night.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that cool? Like,
Who?
I don't want to put their name on podcast. I'm going to protect
Give me
their.
the first.
Possibly cool, but it might be really cool.
Yeah,
or
I
it
think
might not be.
it's
you know.
scary for us. Like, I think this is a different emotion that I'm feeling.
So how
I'm
long
super
sober?
protective.
Well, it's like, did she change enough? It's
I
like,
think
is
so.
there?
I think it's kind of. I don't know. I don't want to go too far and make it seem like it's bigger than it is. I'm really proud of her. She's obviously done enough that someone trusts her to invite them into their home, right? Like,
Somebody in recovery? She's living with?
I don't think so.
no, it's someone that she works for. But it's I remember when I first heard it initially, I was scared. But this same person goes to meetings every day, meets with their sponsor and calls their sponsor every day, and has been presented with an opportunity to grow.
Good.
And what I've realized is that it's not a cookie cutter program.
Right.
Right. And so some people grow faster than others. Some people have better opportunities. I mean, and this individual, we'll say she had her own concerns. And it was natural. It's like, I don't want to be excluded from anything. Like, I still want to be part of the Wednesday night meeting and talk to everybody.
I just don't want rules. I don't want curfew.
I don't think that. I think it was more
I'm joking.
Yeah, no, she's fine.
Well, you don't have those things if you're living out on your own.
Yeah, like I want freedom, but I also want unity.
That's the only thing that scares me about people, especially somebody who's like fresh, moving out into like a place with somebody who's maybe not in recovery, is them losing the connection and relapsing. But like, I think if you are able to maintain those things, and you've at least in the time you've been with us have developed relationships, you probably by now have like a ton of people that you know and can talk to in recovery.
Also, like if you go through enough emotional swings, like that's why we want you for at least 6 months, because in a 6 months time you're going to go through a lot of different emotions and be in a safe environment where you're connected with other people and you got structure and a routine going on, so it keeps you safe. You know what I mean? You can go through all kinds of stuff, and it's, just trains your brain.
we just make sure that we stay in their lives.
We can look at this from so many different perspectives, but I think the one at the end of it all, I look at it like, man, this person was in the woods and then in jail, then in a halfway house, and now in their own place. And so I try to look at it from that light and just really encourage the person to stay in touch, keep doing what they're doing every day, the same way they've been doing it. Don't lose touch of, don't lose stay humble, realize where you came from.
Last night
I let, last night.
You were partying all night.
Yeah, you're out. Oh, big shout out to Greg and Nolan. Congratulations on, who was it? Greg's birthday?
Greg's birthday and
Nolan's 1 year.
Guys there. I had to dip.
I didn't go.
I didn't get home till like 11. Okay.
I wanted to go.
Or maybe I got home earlier. I was watching Star Wars with my stepdad.
Yeah, I wanted to go, but I had the Sally commitment.
10 o'clock.
And for those that don't know, I celebrated
That's-
3 years sober yesterday.
Congrats.
Yeah. And to be clear, like I really wanted to go to Livingston's.
He's a
But there's-
white chip wonder.
But the
Service work, man.
the opportunity to celebrate my 3 years at the Sally, I wasn't going to pass that up. I wasn't going to pass up being able to do
How'd you roll in? Is that how you rolled in?
No,
Hey, guys,
I completely forgot about it.
guess what? I got 3 years. They're like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, Paul.
Can I have your autograph?
No, so I had forgot about it. I was like halfway through the meeting. We were talking about halfway houses, and I was like, "Oh, today is my 3 years," and
Yeah.
they were just like all clapping. You know
Another
what?
reason for you guys clapping for me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
You
much.
pat me on the back after the meeting.
Yeah. Just to remind you. No, I mean, Shelby made a post on Facebook yesterday morning, and I was really taken back by how many people went on there and said congratulations, and they were proud of me. That was really cool. Didn't receive a phone call from Joel and Andrew once.
I'll
Nobody.
text you, bro.
Yeah, he sent
I'm
me a
not a
text.
phone call guy.
Yeah. Actually, Joel came by the house yesterday, didn't say a word about it. Just was like, here, you want some pictures? No, I was very, very grateful for everybody that reached out. But it looked like y'all had a really good time at Livingston's. I've seen some pictures of like go-kart rides. And
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Did they breathalyze you guys before?
Oh, yeah. So,
What?
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so right,
dude.
right
They
before
have
we,
to. It's
right
a
before
bar.
we, everyone was about to leave. They're like, "You want to do go karts?" And I was like, "Well, how much is it? Like $13?" I'm like, "All right, let's do it." So we go up there, and there's like, everyone did it, I think, and then like two groups. But we go up, and the girl's like, "All right," and she gives him the instructions. Don't put your mouth on the thing. You just blow in it.
And they're just like, oh, I'm an expert.
No,
at
no,
this.
no. I was with Greg, and Greg's like, he goes and puts his mouth right on it. I'm like, oh God. Nolan did it too. Nolan put his mouth on the thing. You're just supposed to blow into it, and it was
You know who would
hilarious.
have been really good at that? Eden.
What, blowing into the
Yeah.
breathalyzer?
Yeah, yeah.
There's this.
How many times did I just start the car for that?
Yeah, I'll never. I love telling this story, but one time. So for those that don't know, Joel and Andrew both had a what is it called?
Interlock device.
An interlock device.
Ignition interlock
Yeah,
3
device.
years.
Due to DUIs or whatnot, and
I had it for 1 year.
Andrew and Joel both had one, but Andrew would always have to start his car by blowing in this thing, and then like as he's driving,
in front of his son.
but he calls me one day and he goes, "Bro, we were just at the park in downtown Sarasota, and there was like this makeshift like wooden car with a steering wheel or something in it." And he goes and sits in it and goes, "Look, Dad, I'm going to start the car." And he's like, "Whoo!"
Yeah, so hilarious.
Eden's
That
a
thing
character.
was so obnoxious, dude.
Were there other parents there watching that?
No,
Oh, my
he was like,
goodness.
"Yeah, we're going to go to California, Dad. You want to go?" I was like, "All right." He's like, "All right, we'll start the car. We'll start the car." I'm like, "What?" I can't wait to get this fucking thing out of my car, dude.
Oh man, to have that moment.
It was hilarious.
But it makes sense. I mean, like he thought that's how the car was
Hey,
started.
man, kids are watching. They're
Kids
doing
are
what you're doing,
watching.
dude.
Yeah. But yeah, big shout out to Greg and Nolan. Happy birthday, happy 1 year. Very proud of you guys.
Oh, Eden had a little I've already posted on Facebook, but last year I want to say maybe like 40 or 50 kids in each school in elementary schools in Sarasota County. About 40 to 50 kids from each school get their artwork selected to be in an art show. He was picked last year, and then he was picked again this year. And so we did that Tuesday night and went and looked at his art in the Art Center, Sarasota.
At the museum thing?
Well, it's right next to the Van Wezel. So we
Mm.
did that, and then afterwards, I had dinner with Eden and his stepfather and his mother
Oh wow.
and his sister, half sister.
Really?
Yeah, they're Dutchmen.
How was that?
It's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was all right. It was
Did you pay?
Copa's Day. I paid for Eden. But they were, I don't know. They asked if she asked if she could take him out to dinner, and I was like, she
Can
was
you
like,
take
yeah.
me with you?
No, like
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
already told him I was going to take him, but she was driving like 2 hours away to come to this thing. And then when I told Eden, he was like, "No, Dad, I want you to go. I want you to come too." I was like, "All right." So then I asked, and it was fine.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that you guys could sit down and have a meal and enjoy, eat,
Yeah, that's
celebrate
pretty
Eden. Eden's very talented. For those that don't know him, the kid is brilliant. I mean, truly, he's very, very gifted and has a great sense for art.
Paul's the biggest.
Yeah, I'm full of shit.
He's biggest blowing smoke up.
You know
people's
what's
asses.
really? I mean,
No, I mean, we're gonna save this clip in case he does.
yeah.
He'll
And-
probably be a tattoo artist later.
and then like
Rent a
me over
twin
here
bed from one of our
praising Eden, and then go to a clip and be like giving him a swirly. No, so when I was in Tennessee, you remember my niece Lily? Her and Eden are so much alike. I walk into her playroom, and she has Minecraft on the TV, and then an art table and doing arts and crafts. And my mom's like, she loves this stuff. I'm like, Eden's the same way. Like I think I talked about Eden so much. Like he's the same way. He loves this stuff. Yeah.
It'd be cool if they moved here.
I hope so.
Hang out.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, selfishly, like I would love to live in. I couldn't tell you the last time I lived in the same town with my mom. You know, like she left when I was fairly early for her own reasons. But I mean,
What's the population of that town up there?
Athens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's got to be less than 20,000. But it's a big county.
I grew up in the town I grew up in Illinois, Frankfurt Square. I think they only had maybe
We're at in Frankfurt. I mean, we're at in Illinois.
Frankfurt Square.
I
It's
mean,
like
we're-
so. It's like
Frankfurt Square.
It's Frankfurt Square. Yeah.
Show me on a
the
map.
square.
Illinois is long.
It's we lived maybe 30 minutes from Joliet, and then
Oh,
we were
okay.
like probably like an hour ish from the city from Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, so up near
south.
Chicago
So
way.
just suburb.
Yeah, suburbs. I mean, if you got on the roof of my house, you could see the lights on the Sears Tower. If
So,
that's what it's still called.
Athens is
6,000. 6 or
Athens is the
8,000 where I
city,
live.
and
Then.
Limestone County is the county around
What
it.
do you have in your city?
don't
Barbecue
know.
joint, Walmart.
Yeah, it's like Mayberry, right, from Andy Griffith. But I didn't live in the city. I lived in a town in the county called Leicester, like Salem. There's not a red light. There's a gas station, and that's it, and a high school. You had to drive
There's
in.
a high school in Leicester.
Yeah.
How many,
Then-
how many people in your
Oh.
graduating class?
Well, it's actually a high school, elementary school, and middle school all in one.
So 6.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I don't remember exactly the graduate class. Maybe like 75.
Oh, that's bigger than I thought.
Yeah. Everybody in there went to school with each other from
I remember
kindergarten.
him
to
telling
12th
stories
grade.
about walking down the dirt road and going fishing with
The
his
football
granddad.
field, and when it's not football season, at the very end of the end zone, there's a big cattle gate, and they open it up and let the cows.
What's
Come eat the grass.
Dead serious.
what's most of the high school like? What do they think they're going to do in that town? Like they're going to stay in that town? They're going to move away? They're going to be farming?
So
They're gonna
North Alabama
I mean,
has
probably five of those high schooler the graduating class is probably going to be drug dealers based on your guys' substance.
I mean,
abuse.
if I really think hard
Really,
about it, like you usually will go into education, like a teacher.
at that
Huntsville
same school.
has, this is based on like 2010 statistics, but Huntsville has more PhDs per capita than any other city in the country. They have the Redstone Arsenal where they build rockets.
Yeah.
Like the rockets, like the Saturn V and stuff was built there that got sent to the moon, and Boeing's there. So there's a lot of industrial stuff from the military.
Yeah. Some of the small schools like that have a really good education program.
Yeah.
Just because there's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a really good school. I mean, it's a good place to raise your family. That's the truth. There's not a lot of crime there. It's a very small town, rural. But there's a hospital. There's actually a fairly large hospital
That's
in
good.
Athens. And
That's
so
good.
a lot of people go into nursing or some type of medical, like x-ray tech, or my grandmother was a nurse. My aunt was a nurse. Like they all worked at the hospital.
So where is your dad living at? What's the
in a junkie compound.
how close is that outside of Athens?
Like kind of where you were at.
There's a bunch of little cities or little towns in the county,
Yeah.
and like I was in Leicester, or we call that West Limestone County. He was living, from my understanding, in a place called Ardmore, which is like north central or northeast Limestone County, on a big, farm where they had a bunch of RVs and campers and stuff, and a bunch of people lived out there, from what I understand. I was kind of given directions to it. When I looked it up on Google Maps, it did not look like a friendly place. I mean, if you can imagine, what was that movie? Deliverance?
The hills have eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it looked like. Like there was like barbed wire fence, a gate, a bunch of dogs. Google Maps had some burly guy standing out there, like as they went by. Like, yeah, you kind of had to have an invitation to show up over there,
Yeah.
especially if there's a bunch of paranoid
You
meth heads.
bring liquor.
Or meth. Yeah. That's just something that I don't carry on me. Yeah.
Hey guys, let me
And
some liquor and meth.
for some car batteries.
y'all got any crack in the sheetrock? But hopefully, Lord willing, there'll be other opportunities to interact. Hopefully, my aunt's going to do the best she can to deliver messages. She said he shows up at her property sometimes. She has a pretty large property, and he'll cut like wood.
We should offer like a job, like a sign, saying that we're offering like cash for some jobs to draw them out.
Do you
dangle some
remember
candy.
Professor
A
when we
bounty?
went to the
Yeah, yeah.
woods? And you remember when we asked Professor how long he'd been out there, and he was like 30 years.
Yeah.
And then when we were talking to him, it was really
Like
hard to.
literally 30 years?
Yeah.
Like, was he
Yeah.
for real?
Oh, for sure.
30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you remember when we were like, "Hey, why don't you leave?" The explanation he gave us.
Yeah, some about all of his stuff that he's got. He got a lot of stuff.
There was a moment when he was like, he was trying to figure out how to explain it to us, and he said, "I get to wake up every morning and hear the birds. I don't have bills to pay. I'm at peace. I get to experience God in a different way." Now, granted, that was probably with
The
a
meth.
meth-induced psychosis.
Yeah.
But that's the last time I talked to my dad about it. I want to say it was on the phone, and this was, a year or so ago. He said, my entire family is buried in that cemetery over there. It's like, I'm not leaving here. So my goal was to really just get in front of him and be like, just to let you know, if you die out here like this, I'm having you cremated.
Yeah. Good luck trying to make it to
yeah.
that cemetery.
You're
but-
coming to Sarasota either way, buddy.
Yeah.
But he's really stuck in his ways. But only time will tell. Hopefully I can.
It's hard to figure out like how much of that's just ego and addiction and like the discomfort for like the professor to come out of there and then start working it was just probably monumental in his mind.
Well, that's
that
like the
it's-
normal like state of an addict that's in complete denial, right? Like he's at that state where it's like,
Yeah.
you're a drug addict. Like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I get to hear the birds.
Yeah. I'm not a drug addict.
I mean, that's life's normal. Right?
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've actually never heard my dad admit that he was addicted to anything,
Yeah.
but he definitely is, But
Yeah.
I was the same way. Like, I didn't want to. You could tell me nothing. I would tell you I had an addiction, but I wouldn't admit to living a junkie lifestyle, until I was on this side of it.
But that's crazy. We got a gentleman we work with currently right now that is kind of in a hardcore denial still after all this, even through the medical problems and all through his entire family doesn't talk to him. He's been, an hardcore alcoholic for 30 years. So where it almost cost him his life, still in denial about, like how bad he was or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Shout out to Greg. Happy birthday, buddy.
No,
I'm just kidding. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the state that's hard to get past, You can literally show someone that they're living on a junky compound with, eating day-old bologna, going and panhandling every day, and they're like, I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Like, oh, what's wrong with that? Like, who are you to judge me? Like, and it's I don't know what is going to happen, or I have very low expectations, but I'm going to do everything I can, and it's always going to be a phone line open, and I'm willing to talk to him about it. A lot of people are praying for him in our family, but it's up to him ultimately. That's just how it works. You have to be willing and want it. That worse than the people that want it for you.
He's got no way to even look at it though. It's not like there's meetings in that town, or he can't even probably visualize what it really even looks like. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought about that in depth too. Like, obviously we're at a spot where we've kind of got this solution, right? Like, and if you think about it from a recovery home thing, I was thinking, man, what would keep me from putting a couple of recovery houses here? And the truth is, it's like, I don't think it's the meetings. I think it's the employment opportunities. So here in Sarasota, you can walk down to there's a million places you can go get a minimum wage job if you just needed a job, right?
Yeah.
And there, it's not like that. You have to drive fairly large distances just to get close to a McDonald's that's, probably not hiring because it's overstaffed.
so tell him he can make money day one right off the bat.
Yeah, when he makes money, they pick him up and they take him to Huntsville and he panhandles.
Ugh.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lori. Lori said she'd pray for him. I really appreciate that.
That's one of those not yets. Yeah.
But I can see you paying.
No, I haven't, but I'm, I told myself I would never put a needle in my body. I told myself I would never rent my car,
So-
which, and I held steadfast for a while until
You ran in your car.
I need to rent my car. So it's just one of those yets. I never got to a point yet where I felt like I needed to pay anything. But I mean, that's basically what I was doing anyways. I would just hitting my family ups, and hitting
Yeah.
people up, and just
Manipulating
junkie
someone.
stunting somebody or lying, just to get money. So I just didn't burn enough. I didn't burn all my bridges yet,
Yeah.
or people just, I would figure out, or I would just steal. I think I was just like, I'd rather steal than just be, I don't know, something about, I don't know. It just
I was
felt
having
bad. I just didn't want to be around people. I was like 140 pounds just looking sick. I just felt so ashamed of myself. I didn't want to face anybody, you know.
Did you ever like accept? Like I was having a conversation with this girl like a couple weeks ago, and I remember talking to her about it because we used to party together or whatever. And I was like, I never committed to that lifestyle. Like in the back of my mind, I mean, I was the guy with the laptop doing my MBA degree in trap house for years. You know what I mean? Like I never, in the back of my mind, I never was like,
They probably
I'm
thought you
gonna.
were so crazy.
Yeah.
This dude's
Well,
so
now
full of
it's
it.
paying for their survival. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
now that actually means something today.
He's like coaching his plug.
Yeah. No.
Take this
Would you
profit.
imagine being like the dope miller or the guys you getting high, like, oh yeah, Joel's back to he's studying.
Open a Vanguard
Yeah.
account. Here.
But now they get to see, like, I mean, this is that studying that day, like back then,
What was
just
that?
opened up,
What was
ever
that
seen
story
that?
you told me that time about how you had seen like the drug dealer's like bank account
yeah.
and how much is in there?
I think it was like 40 grand.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to stack my cash up just to,
Yeah. And he was like, I'm gonna get there. Like that was like a big motivating factor for you. And
have more money than my dope dealer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Have you ever seen any of your dealers like in the court program? Anybody you like got high with or
yeah. Yeah, I've seen a couple people that kind of ran through. I mean, I had one guy in the houses. He never stayed, and he kept,
Can we
junkie
call them
stuff.
coworkers?
Joel used
Yeah.
to tell me he just was a bully, because he was just bigger than everybody and he would just be a drunk bully.
You?
I was a little bit of a, you got to understand, like when I was drinking, man, like that changed. Yeah, I mean,
Just
Oh my
I was just angry and drunk all the time, man. It was weird.
can you imagine
Not
that?
always, but like,
Yeah. Joel was that guy.
Drunk and cracked out bully just on a girl's. He's like
It was-
Debo on the bike, on the girl's bike, just like that. Let me get that. What you
It's like
got?
that scene in Friday when they're like, Debo's on That's
Yeah.
Jordy.
Oh,
Was
man,
Joel on his girl's
I had
You could just
Yeah.
hear the bike creaking down the street.
yeah, man.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
But yeah, like I'd be getting, I'd be like the number one invite to the trap house, but then the one getting kicked out, like
All right, he's got to go.
later. Yeah, I'd be up on the roof and the
Joel,
cops
get
are
your
all-
laptop and get out of here.
Yeah, I'd be up on the roof. I remember one time I actually thought about my life. I'm standing on top of a trap house. The cops are at the front door looking for me with their, flashlights, and I'm just standing up there with my Four Loko. Just thinking about life. Like, I wonder if my life is going to be this crazy later on.
Joel
I mean,
was
like,
Batman.
it's
You know what I mean?
freaking
Like the
wild.
cops are looking for him. He's just standing out there like
Yeah.
the Dark Knight.
Just freaking whacked out.
Did you get caught that night?
No, I was always no. Yeah,
He was quick.
probably the reason I'm still not, or I'm not in
Allegedly.
prison or something is because they took my driver's license for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I was leaving, I was leaving on a bike or walking through some shady, trail or something, while everyone else is getting pulled over. The cops would wait at the end of the street and wait for people to leave this house
Here comes Joel.
and then pull them over and then search them and then be like,
Dude, it was a
be
miracle.
like, hey, you turn these people in, whatever.
Joel's riding by on a Tiffany blue bike
Yeah.
with a basket on the front of it. Just bing, bing.
But also it was weird because I'm
So as soon as they get arrested, Joel's just riding
But
by.
yeah. But
coming
it's
out of the
also weird
bushes.
because people are getting arrested, not telling me, and then I'm riding in cars with them when they're kind of becoming like an informant. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know all the shady stuff's going on. I'm just smashing drinks,
Yeah.
and I'll be here till early Monday morning before I have to.
The police are telling the informant, oh, we're looking for Ross. You know Ross? He
Yeah,
set us up with Ross.
JR.
They wouldn't know who. Yeah,
What's his
there was
real
probably-
name?
The
there was so
rooftop
much-
bandit.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh.
I was kind of dating this girl, and she would I wouldn't talk to her for a couple days. She knew where I'd be hiding. And she comes pounding on the trap house door and breaking stuff, and we're all watching from cameras, right? And we're taking the abuse because we can't call the cops. I can't go out there, otherwise I'm gonna get beat on, breaking out to run down the street. Yeah, like it was like what I mean. This was like every other night for
Oh,
years.
Joel's girl's here again.
Yeah, she would break. I remember like I'm looking at the dope, the dope dealer. Um, they're looking at the cameras, looking at my girl out there breaking all this stuff, and I'm like,
What
get
I
out of
do?
here
He's like,
again.
bro, don't come back.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we like you
You're-
coming by, giving us your money, but
You can't
if you
stay here, dude.
go home and you're here.
I remember my last relapse. I put on that white car, the Honda. I put like 30,000 miles on that car in like 4 months, just driving around town. $5 in gas at a time. Five,
Yeah, yeah.
$10 here and
Counting
there.
change for
It always said 0 miles to empty, and I'm just putting $5 and $10 in it, running out of gas. 2 in the morning, I got AAA bringing me a gallon of gas, and I'm like hiding in the corner, all high and freaked out.
Yeah,
Wait
just
for
put it in the car.
Yeah, that's a miracle. I never got put, and I had no license, and I had my insurance I had no insurance.
Tags expired.
Yeah, dude, just riding dirty, and I never in a bright white car, just through the hood for like months and months and months, and I never got pulled. I got pulled over once, and it was like right after the DUI, and then I never got pulled over again.
Wow. So, yeah, we're coming close to the end. I wanted to say one other thing about my trip real quick, and then we'll hop off here. I didn't realize this until Thursday that it was Mother's Day Sunday. Like, I didn't realize like going home and seeing my mom and seeing my grandma and seeing my aunt was like really kind of it was more for me to like go visit them on the week of Mother's Day. But I'll never forget like the day that I got arrested and got clean, May 9th, a few years ago now, that it was the day after Mother's Day. And I had left my mom like this big voicemail, like, "Hey, I love you, Mother's Day. Have you, just completely messed up." And my mom would tell me, she was like, I was hoping you would get arrested. Like the best Mother's Day gift I could give her at that time was to be in jail, so she knew I was okay. And so it was really cool to go back,
Yeah.
3 years later and be completely different. I mean, she's the main reason I got sober. She cut me off. She was like, "Don't call me."
Stop enabling.
Yeah. Boom. And that was like probably the best thing she could have ever done. So for me, at least. All right. Episode 29 is in the books.
Yeah.
Any
I
closing
forgot we
thoughts?
were even on the podcast there for a minute.
Wow.
Bring
I
up
feel
all
like
this
that's
stuff.
how it should be. Like, we should just be
Well, I don't know because we're live. And
Yeah.
right,
I don't
right,
know.
right.
Yeah, like in a quick summary, like do your 90 and 90.
Do your 90 and
do
90.
your 90.
Challenge yourself.
And don't let anybody tell you like the meetings you go to aren't good enough.
Yeah, and if you're not from Sarasota and you don't know us, but you watch us and you need anything, you're always welcome to hit us up. If you're struggling or you know someone who's struggling, you can reach out to us. We'll do whatever we can to help anybody
Yeah.
who's looking for a
yes.
way out.
There's 2 websites. It's projectexiscorp.com if you want to get involved and make a donation or check out our merch or just read about what we do and how we do it. You can visit our website, projectexiscorp.com. And if you're looking to get help and you want to check out projectexodushomes.com, you can reach out to us there. There's a contact us portion where you can actually send us a message or give us a phone call if you're looking for a bed or a place to go, or just even if you're not from Sarasota and you just need someone to talk to, like, please reach out to us. You can also join our Discord. Check our Facebook page. There's plenty of links to join our Discord. Wednesday nights, Next Generation Recovery at 1801 North Lockwood Ridge Road at Grace Life Church. We have a meeting that starts at 7. It's about an hour long, and it's all recovery. You can watch it
live streamed on Facebook. If you can't get there, you can also be a part of it.
Yeah, this week, me, Joel, Andrew, and Flip from the Tiff and Flip Show, good friend of ours, we're going to be doing a presentation. It's they call it Men's Night, so it's titled "Man Up," and we're going to talk about we're going to talk about like not making excuses and being trustworthy. I'm be kind of working on it. I know neither one of you guys have put one second of thought into it, but
Joe doesn't have to. I already know what he's going to say.
What?
Stop being
so innocent.
silly.
Yeah, I mean, like we're gonna talk about I'm gonna talk about like what type of person I used to be, not trustworthy, a liar, cheat, thief, like just uncomfortable, awkward, was manipulating, gaslighting, and what recovery taught me was
changed very much.
I know.
well, in some ways, the recovery
Awkward through me off.
recovery has taught me to be a better person. So join us Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. You can check us out on Facebook. There'll be a post-production version of both that meeting and this episode of the podcast. You can listen to it on any major podcast platform. But for everyone here at Project Exodus Court Podcast, my name is Paul.
Joel, love you guys.
Love you
Andrew.
guys. Have a good one. Good night.